Hi everyone, welcome to the Path to Reason. I'm your host Cindy Plaza, and tonight we have the the amazing BrainBug on the show. And so thanks, Brian, for being here. Apparently, my kitty doesn't want to be here anymore.
Oh, she just wants to play.
Yeah,
Oh, oh, maybe the kitty will be in the thumbnail, and then people will be like, "Ooh, kitty, yeah."
yeah. Hopefully,
But
yeah. So how are
we
you
got the
doing?
bug. Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
and
doing all right. We totally weren't backstage talking about the Kalam. That's a lie.
yeah. There's a lot to talk about with this, but that's not. Well, maybe we can talk about it today.
Yeah, who
Um,
knows?
yeah, who knows? But before we start talking about your channel, your atheism, your interest in all the science, can you please tell me who is Brian, the human being?
Okay. Yeah, I am a father. I got three kids. I'm a husband. I've got a beautiful wife. I'm a brother. I'm a son. I'm lots of things. But yeah, a humanist is definitely one of the most important things that I try to represent, and I try to, uh, to demonstrate for my kids. It's a long process, and nobody's perfect, and so yeah, if you struggle with humanism, every day you have to put in the effort. So that's what else? I also, other than bugs, I have some dogs too. They kind of get up here and jump on me every now and then, but I think we got them closed away right now. Uh, I, I can say I work in the pharmaceutical industry. I'm not going to give any more details than that, but I yeah, and this is my being involved in this community and with you guys is kind of my leisure. It's my downtime. I love interacting with everybody and teaching science and uh, even if it's a dispute or argument or debate, I just love engaging with everybody. So yeah, that's me.
So someone says in the chat that you are Peter Parker.
Peter Parker. Yeah, like Spider-Man, because I get
Yeah.
all the spiders. I did actually kind of weigh out today whether I was going to bring a tarantula out or a mantis out, but the mantises do so much better because they can kind of hang out up here. The tarantulas I got to hold, and I got to hold them way up here because it's very dangerous for them to be up too high, and I know it's only a few inches above the keyboard, but even that can be dangerous to the type of spiders that I have. Um,
And also, I guess the mantis has a better contrast to your microphone, maybe.
Yes, yeah, stands out a lot better
Mm.
than the spiders do for sure. So yeah, I'm glad to have a co-host that's a mantis again. I went a while without one, and it was kind of sad. But got these big, beautiful, giant Asian mantises and some ghost mantises too. So and we're actually going to be here in the next few weeks. I'll be ordering some more. So if you're interested in helping out, picking out what kind of mantises we're going to get. I'll follow me on Twitter. I think you got my links down below, right? Follow me on Twitter, and
Yeah.
you can vote on that as well. It'll be coming up here soon.
So, how many bugs or insects or do you have at your place?
That's yeah, it's a question I get a lot. So to clarify, the right answer as far as numerically is I don't know. And I will explain why. I can tell you that I have currently have 6 mantises, the ghost mantises and the Asian giant mantises, 8 tarantulas, 3 scorpions, 1 centipede, 3 millipedes, two ironclad beetles, which I hardly ever get to see. What else? Make sure I don't miss anybody. Oh, no, that about covers it. What I have right now on that, and then I have colonies, and that's why I can't say exactly how many of anything I have. So I have a colony of Madagascar hissers and some zebra isopods in here. I have dubia, and then Turkish cockroaches, and I have all my feeder stuff, my crickets, and my and I have domino roaches back there too. And people have that cringe response to the word cockroaches, because a lot of people associate them with the pest species that we get in our homes that are really hard to get rid of and really resilient and kind of gross. I mean, they live in areas that are gross, so they but cockroaches are a huge order of insects. There's so many different species under bladderday. And one of them is actually termites. I didn't know if that's news to everybody out there. I love dropping that info bomb on people. Termites are a group of cockroaches. So you heard it here first, folks. But there's so many, and they're so diverse, and they do well in domestic settings, and some of them are beautiful, all the colors of the rainbow. So but I understand the aversion to the term. That's why I always try to find a different word for them, but it never. Eventually, you gotta say, yeah, it's a cockroach. But look how pretty it is, though.
That their milk was full of vitamins, I think, or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, there's cockroach milk is a good source of nutrition. Actually, it has a lot of nutritional benefits to us as well. Real quick, I just want to say hi to some people out here, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, hey, thank you for coming, Randolph Richardson, Mandy, see ya, Dave, Edward, and Ethan, Spooky. All my friends showed up, so I'm really happy that we got a good
thanks,
audience.
Thanks everyone for being here. Hi, Randolph. Good to see you. So Ethan asked a question, and it was going to be my next question. When did and how did this interest into bugs started?
Oh, it started when I was a kid. Yeah. And it started kind of rough. We would catch all kinds of bugs and insects, and not just those, though. We'd also get crawdads and frogs and things like that, and we'd have little gladiator tournaments in a ditch in our backyard. So that's where it started. And then we'd have mantises were always one of my favorites, but when we would do this when we were kids, the mantises would always get wrecked pretty hard because they're ambush predators. They're not combatants. They hang upside down and try to camouflage with the leaves. They're not gonna fight. So when you see people putting a mantis in a cage with a tarantula or something, they're just feeding that mantis to the tarantula because it's not gonna put up a good fight. But I don't do that anymore. Obviously, I've become more of a would say humanitarian, but because obviously it's not humans, but looking at the
caregiver
insects, looking at the animals and keeping them and feeding them, and at the even from that time back when we were still fighting with them and stuff, it was it was a learning experience, and you learn to appreciate how crazy life is. Some creatures can take a heck of a beating and keep going. But as that grew, my interest in animals, we started reading, getting books from the libraries on animals. I had a twin brother, and we would both do this. We'd read, and not like children's books, but like actual go to the science section and get the science books. We really started amassing quite a collection, and then you start, we get to a certain age, you start wondering what these little things down at the bottom of the pages and stuff were, and what these little numbers and you look into those, and you find out about the scientific research process and what goes into that. And looking at primary research, and you go out there and oh my gosh, you find all these schematics and stuff about the animals and the way that they're a lot of ecology stuff, a lot of people field research. I love nothing more than reading some field work as someone did on any kind of animal when something novel happens in there, and you can read it and the excitement of them taking this information down. So I really got into those, and then I found communities online that were just full of people talking about these papers on animals and writing their own papers. It was just this, and we would argue over papers and debate over animals, and it really it kind of blossomed from there. Once I learned that there were people out there who were making arguments that evolution didn't happen and that Earth's only 6,000 years old, after I'd spent all my childhood learning and reading all that stuff, it was like, oh my gosh, I got to go argue with these people, because my wife would probably tell you too that I do love to argue. I love to have conversations about stuff, if you will. A debate is always fun, but really opened up a window for that. And as far as the bugs, I actually got into for a while. They're doing bug shows, so I'd go around to schools, especially like around Halloween, when people, we need some spiders or whatever, but also birthday parties and things like that. We'd go do bug shows and teach about the scorpions and the spiders and the praying mantises, and it was the thing I really enjoyed doing. And as my kids got older and were not so much interested in participating with that, because they were like, they'd help me and stuff. I kind of leaned away from doing that. And then of course the pandemic hit, so I couldn't do it anymore at all. But I'm like, you know what? There's a whole world out here on YouTube. Why don't I go talk about my bugs out there, and I can also argue with people. So here I am.
So yeah, when I was a kid, I tried an experiment once. I used to spend my summer holidays in a summer camp in the mountain in France, and over there are a lot of spider species, and some of them are very very colorful. And one day I just caught three of them inside a small transparent box, and so they weren't moving, and I was expecting something. I didn't know how they interact together, so I was curious. And then I went to lunch, and when I came back, there was only one left, and there were legs and blood everywhere in the box. So I learned that
Yeah,
I
they don't
guess
like each other.
no, they're I guess they're territorials, and and that's why they didn't like to be in the same very small space together.
That's it's pretty general to pretty much all arachnids, but spiders are especially unique in that they have some very elaborate rituals that they have to do to convince the females not to eat them. Depending on the group, of course, everybody's seen the peacock jumping spider that throws up its little peacock thing and does its dance where it waves its arms around and does a little dance to say, hey, I just want to mate, don't eat me. But other spiders, especially like the ones that live in the big webs, like what you're talking about there, the big colorful ones on the webs, they don't have very good eyesight because they don't need it. They live on a web. They don't ever leave their web, and they don't need to be able to see other than to know that it's day or night, or that some predator's coming up on them. So the male doing an elaborate dance for the lady spider is not going to do a lot for stimulating her, because she's not going to see it. So instead, they do these drumming. So they have in each species, not even each species, because they've done some different surveys on it, but they do unique drumming patterns to convince the females not to eat them. They drum. Tarantulas do something similar too. It's not as intricate as some of these web spiders with how fast and how, I mean, they're really going at it when they drum on the web. But the tarantulas are a little bit slower about it. Most people don't realize that when even the tarantulas live underground, they'll have there's web all around the outside of their hole that's covered under the leaves and stuff, so they can feel anything that's walking around there. They got like a little I just can't see that from this angle. A little network of webs, so they understand where they, because tarantulas are another group that doesn't see that well. Not too many spiders do actually see well. It's become a secondary characteristic of net casting spiders and jumping spiders, of course, for obvious reasons. You know, you're casting the net, you need to be able to see. If you're pouncing on your prey from a distance, you need to be able to see.
There are some great jokes being spread in the chat right now. IQ said, where was it? You have more bugs than Windows Vista, which is, I'm not sure it's accurate, but yeah, sure. And Randolph said, fun fact, Cindy and Brian are both on the web right now. So
we are,
yeah.
Yeah.
So
another visual mantises are another visual predator, and you see the two big eyes, like, okay, that's mantises have 5 eyes. Just the other 3 are tiny, and again, they just pick up light and motion for the most part. But you don't sneak up on a mantis, though. It always sees you coming.
It's funny to hear that they have an odd number of eyes. Is it current in the animal world or in the insect world?
Yeah, because there's the 3 on the top. The one in the middle, it's kind of analogous to our the pineal eye and like reptiles. If you're familiar with that concept, because they have an eye too. Reptiles have a 3rd eye on top of their head. I shouldn't say reptiles. Lepidopsaurs do. It's a highly specialized photoreceptive cell. Actually, this kind of goes into evolution here, because these little eyes that I'm talking about, the crude primitive eyes, show us kind of the progress of the evolution of the eye and where we get to where we are now. And then you got something like a nautilus that's eye is basically just an empty case with a pinhole in it. That's all it is. All they do is receive light information to hitting a nerve cell in there. That's it.
And how many cones do their eyes have? I know humans, we have 3, dogs have 2, for example. Do you know how many the insects
have? A pretty wide spectrum of cones among insects.
Depends on their environment, I guess.
Because they're diverse. I mean, looking at looking at all insects is we kind of like looking at all tetrapods, not just all mammals, but all tetrapods. So that'd be like looking at all birds, because that's another group that has a way broader color spectrum than we do. There's colors that we'll never even understand. How do you describe a color that you can't see? But so insects, butterflies I think have the most, but might be a moth, but I think it's a butterfly. I'd have to get back to you on that, though. I don't want to quote anything without having the information right up in front of me.
Yeah, one animal that fascinates me, and we're going out of the insect world, but it's the mantis shrimp.
Oh yeah,
they're fascinating.
I think they can see the most colors in the animal kingdom, right?
They have 16 types of cone receptors, so they see a number of colors we can't even imagine. Their arms are so powerful. They're
colored though. Like when I let my 8-year-old dress himself, like orange and black, and then blue and purple, and then they're all kinds of crazy colors.
Amazing colors. Their exoskeleton is also very, very strongly made, so it's very It's very hard to break. I know that many fishermen lost a finger or two trying to catch them. Yeah, they're fascinating.
Right. And yeah, they have some unique rituals that they do too for mating. Uh, they people keep them in aquariums, but I from what I understand, they don't make good aquarium fish. But they are. When I say aquarium fish, I'm using the word colloquial, though I know that they're not fish. They're arthropods. But another one that that's kind of in a similar category is the pistol shrimp. Are you familiar with them?
No.
So they snap their claws so fast that it actually generates light. But the pressure wave that it sends out when they do it can break it breaks the glass of the aquariums.
Well, I thought that was also mantis shrimps that
Is it?
did that.
I mean, I know the ones that clap that clack their claws so fast that makes the light. That's definitely the pistol shrimp. But mantis shrimp, I know they have like super powerful claws, though.
Yeah, they are capable of doing. So I don't remember the scientific term, but a bubble of void in the water that explodes,
Yeah, the
and that's
bubble.
actually
Yeah,
the bubble. I don't remember this name for this phenomenon. When the water is extended so fast that
it's like a vacuum
void
collapse.
bubble, yeah, and that's actually what destroys fingers. Not so much as the clamps,
It ca-
but this, yeah,
yeah, it gets caught in that pressure wave.
yeah.
Yeah, you know what? Makes me think of something I was wanting to talk about when we were talking about evolution. So about it's not about humans. It's about the aquatic environment. So like our tool use and whatnot that we have is due to the limitations of our environments. Intelligent aquatic species like whales and dolphins, they do use they use tools. They use their environment as a tool, the water around them and their environment as a tool, and they use it all the time to wrangle prey. It's incredible how efficient they're built to move water around and to between water and air and making bubble nets and all this crazy stuff that they do. We aren't the most efficient tool users in the animal kingdom. I don't think. I think that dolphins have us beat when in the way, or the dolphins and whales really have us beat in the use of their environment as a tool itself.
Yeah, I remember seeing a video about. I I don't think it was dolphins. I think it was orcas. They were moving simultaneously to create a wave to move a
Not
block
to
of
seal
ice
off the
where
ice.
they were. Yeah.
And to be clear, orcas are actually dolphins. So you were right.
Oh,
They're
okay.
dolphins. They're the largest member of the dolphin family. So yeah, you're not wrong. Yeah, they do that. Also, when they slide up on the beaches to snag a seal off there, they'll do. There's a few cases of them actually attacking boats and stuff and sinking them. They aren't really interested in eating the people. They're just bored, I guess. But they kind of use a similar tactic to what they do when they take down a large whale, though. You think after they figured out it was a boat, because they're smart, they're not gonna be like, oh yeah, this is. I still think this is a whale.
Or maybe the boat was a nuisance to them for some
Yeah.
reason.
Well, I wouldn't blame them. We
No.
sure do cause enough damage to this planet.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. So talking about evolution. So I don't think we have here someone who doubts anything about evolution, but um, can we explain it in very simple words? The difference
okay,
between
so
evolution, which is a fact, and the natural theory of evolution by natural
right.
selection, which is.
So to clarify, evolution, in the simplest definition, is the change in allele frequencies of a population over time and over geography, actually, because you can see evolution over a continent as much as you can over an epoch. So to be clear, that's what we see, and it's demonstrable. It's we can see it in the lab. We see isolating groups and subjecting them to different environmental pressures, different any kind of pressures. All pressures are going to be environmental, though, because your environment is just things that are external around you. So exposing them to different environmental pressures, and we can trace allele frequencies changing. Actually, we've been altering and manipulating allele frequencies for thousands of years, for probably close to 30,000 years since we've been like keeping. That's about the time that we really started to associate ourselves with canines, and we would let the ones that were less dangerous to us get closer than the ones that weren't. So then that breeding population, we've been domesticating fruits and vegetables, different cultivars for a long, long, long time. It's just a matter of scale and time. But the misunderstanding that a lot of people have is that evolution is moving towards something, towards this bigger, better idea that the world, that it's that we are that the evolution teaches that we are the final result of some process or something. That's just not the case. It's not even about what's the best. It's about whether or not, when these two organisms, or depending on what clade you're talking about, this one organism or this group, this colony of organisms even, is able to maintain and reproduce and keep going and keep the genetic line going. So that's all that matters, is if they can survive in the environment that they're born into. Environments change, different factors come into play. Climate change is definitely a big problem that we're seeing right now. And we also see pollution, but animals have also been driving each other extinct or into extinction for as long as there's been life, because a new group of organisms comes in and changes your ecosystem. They don't even have to compete directly with the main line of organisms. They could eat a species that was fertilizing the vegetation that they eat. There's lots of things that could come into play there. It doesn't have to be a direct confrontation. Of course, we as humans, we're direct confrontation everywhere we go. We bring our own invasive species, and we're detrimental to any environment that we really put ourselves into. We can't go anywhere without having some kind of impact on that environment. That's just a factor of the nature of humanity. We can do as much as possible to try to maintain some of these more virgin environments, but of course, we impact, like say an island biome that no one's ever set foot on. We're still impacting that by whatever's in the ocean washing on the shores, for instance. That comes into the environment, that goes into the soil, that affects the life on that island. So we have an impact on everything, even if we don't directly touch it. So mankind's impact on evolution is obvious. There's species that thrive in our shadow, and there's species that just die out. And again, that's a process that we've been controlling for thousands of years. Sorry, I could talk the rest of the time just on evolution, but I know you had other questions you wanted to ask.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out, because that's also something that's sometimes misunderstood, is that evolution applies to groups, not individuals.
Right. That's why it's important to put population in that description when you're saying that. It's a change in allele frequencies of a population over time. Populations as well, as they split from each other. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you explain the principle of ring species?
Okay, so a ring species is a group that has so you had your original population, and you had we'll do the river valley example with this hold on, I'm going to pull it up here so I have the image up. Maybe you can even share my screen just a second. It's the specific salamanders that maybe, is that a good picture? All right, I'm going to pull this up here. There you go. Can you share that? We'll just talk about it real quick. Now let me zoom in. Okay. So when you're talking about a ring species, you have the original group. Okay, and as they move north, these two species can interbreed with one another. All right. Then as you move north, and these two species can interbreed with each other, and so on going down here. These two can breed, and then these two can breed. But once we get to here, to where it's come back down around, these two species cannot breed, and these two species cannot breed in this population. So they can all breed around, but they can't cross over. And that's because the genetic changes that took place as they adapted to their new environments as they moved north here became incompatible with the genetics of the source species to the most distantly related group.
Go ahead. Basically, that's a defeater for the argument that we observe microevolution but not macroevolution.
Right. Yeah. There's we do see speciation. We can again, and like I was saying before, we've controlled it before. We've been controlling it for all this time, making new species that are genetically unique from their wild counterparts. And the groups here, I guess I took it away. The groups there in the middle, there's some crossover there between, so we know that about where, at least in these distinct groups, where that line is drawn. So yeah, that's just the most popular one. There's a few different clades that exhibit this kind of ring geography where they can't overlap like that. But this is one of the most popular ones, is the salamanders.
I heard one about birds in the US. They started in a forest, and then part of the forest was cut, so some of the part of the species moved, the rest stayed, and then they came back afterwards. So yeah, there are different examples, and so we have enough evidence to prove that it's the case.
Yeah, the cottontail rabbits, I believe, are another example that like the Florida species can't breed with the Alaskan species, but they can breed all across the spectrum, moving that that direction. So yeah, it is a good defeater for those types of claims.
So what's the most frustrating claim you hear from creationists?
What frustrates me the most is that well, like we're talking about the speciation and that we can observe in the lab of things like E. coli, and people, the apologists will say, but it's still E. coli though, and it's okay. There's if it can. So one of the defining features of E. coli is that it can't process the citrate. And then if you get it to, if it gets that, if it develops an ability to do that, that's not E. coli anymore. So, yeah, that's one of the sillier ones. But it is basically why are there still monkeys argument, essentially, that, if it still looks the same as it did, as like a monkey looking the same as our ancestors, for instance. And to be clear, it would depend on how you define monkey. We are monkeys, but if you want to be polyphyletic about it, which means that it's Okay, let me clarify this real quick. Okay, say when science we want everything to be monophyletic. That means the term we use to describe a group should for it to be scientifically applicable should describe it all the way back through its ancestry. So if you take a word like monkey and it's to mean all primates or all simiforms to the exclusion of apes, of anthropoid apes, then you are making it polyphyletic because it means all the animals in this clade to the exclusion of this group. So that doesn't work in nested cladistics because a species can't be polyphyletic, like literally polyphyletic. We can use colloquial terms like monkey and say, and that's fine. But when you're talking about science, you need to be a little bit more specific. And people will use these language barriers to try to build an argument that is, if they understand that it's a language issue, then it wouldn't be an argument at all.
Yeah, because they seem to think that the monkeys we see today are the same as our ancestors, which they're not, absolutely not.
Right.
But since they share the same name colloquially and the same basic description, then they think it's the same.
Right. There's an apologist that I engage with quite regularly who makes this claim about the complexity of the simplest free living bacteria today. So even the simplest free living bacteria has these requirements to exist. I don't know what number he gives out. I'm not sure, but that is so. And this is an argument against abiogenesis, essentially. So these simple organisms need this much.
The probability argument.
Huh?
The high probability argument.
Yeah. So, but it falls on its face because the concept that even the simplest organism today would be anything like the earliest life is ridiculous, because no matter how simple it is, it's still been going through the evolutionary process for, I think it's where we're at now. It's like 4.3 billion years. It's still been evolving for that long, regardless of how simple it is now. It still has been around. Its lineage has been around that long, and you will see that in its genome. Sorry, this doesn't hold water.
There's an image I like to use in this argument. It's the board game Mastermind. Do you know it?
I'm not familiar with it. Mastermind.
So, Mastermind, yeah. So basically, you have a plate with holes. I think it's 6 holes, and there's about 20 rows, and so it's played with 2 people. One picks several pounds of colors, and you hide it, and then the people in front of you tries to guess what you put. So there's something like 65 million possible combinations. But the thing is, each time they try to guess, you say, okay, this color is at the right place, or this color doesn't exist, or this color is in another place. And so basically, this is evolution.
That sounds like
this
Battleship.
It's a little bit more complex, I would say, because you have chips of color, and the person has to guess the color at the right spot they're in. So every time they give a new try, you say, okay, this is the right color at the right spot, or the right color but not at the right spot, and this information you give to the person is basically evolution.
Right.
Well, natural selection, to be more precise.
Yeah,
Because the things that work are kept, and the thing that don't work, they're left out.
Right. Yeah. It's a self-correcting kind of
Yeah.
scenario. And that's why I was saying about being fit for your, because there's the concept of survival of the fittest is often mischaracterized as being which is the strongest. It's just what fits in the environment. And in your analogy about your game there, that would be you know if you took it outside or whatever and it was windy and everything got blown all over the place and moved everything around, or was putting pressure on things to do that they didn't work where they were. So you got different external pressures like that happening all the time on each generation. These two organisms breed together, but their offspring are white spots and makes it visible to predators. Those white spots are not going to be passed on because everything that had the white spots got eaten. Yeah. It's just environmental pressure. Yeah, it's why we're here.
Yeah, they also use. Yeah, they also use this story. I don't remember where it comes from, but the infinite number of monkeys on typewriters, and at some point
Shakepeare.
they will write Shakespeare, and that's a fallacy. But the thing is, if on every try you correct one letter, then in the end, yes, you will get the ratings of Shakespeare, because you have this correction, and on each try you keep what's good. Well, you keep one letter that's good, but over time, then you get the entire writings of Shakespeare. But if you just keep the random tries, then of course it will take
Yeah,
eternity.
right. You're keeping most of the information from the previous generation, just with subtle changes, usually caused by mutations or insertions from a virus, which I did a really cool stream about a couple weeks ago. I don't know if you saw it, but we found the first animal that had a plant gene that was injected to it, inserted into it by a virus. So really cool breakthrough stuff there. It was a novel discovery.
So what percentage of our DNA comes from other species, like viruses, for example?
Well, so viruses actually bring different all kinds of different horizontal genes into our lineage. I'm not sure what portion of it, but I know that there are like, for instance, we as Europeans, we're going to have some like Neanderthal DNA in us. As far as insertions, though, I don't know if I would be able to quote anything on that, but I know that the percentage of foreign DNA elements is pretty freaking high.
Yeah, I read 3% and 9%. I don't know which one is correct, but I hoped you would know. But
yeah, I know yeah. Sorry, we get into genetics. I'm not. That's not really too much of my area, but I do like it does roll over into some ecology stuff, so I know a bit about phylogenetics, about how they're grouped. But as far as the fine details about gene insertions and stuff, I'm just kind of on the fringe there about knowing some details, but not enough to give any kind of citations.
So Randolph asks a question for you. He says, would it be better to call it survival of the most suitably successfully adaptive instead of survival of the fittest? Or
I would say survival. If I got the option and say, hey Brian, you want to rename this, I would call it survival of the most ecologically sustainable. So that would be my terminology for it. I don't like survival of the fittest necessarily. It did, if you take it in context, it is a sensible name for it, but people misrepresent it. There's lots of things like that. Like the Big Bang Theory, people are like, oh, it's explosion. No, it's expansion, and it's still happening. We're still experiencing the cosmic expansion. Another one is the Cambrian explosion. It was an explosion that lasted almost 50 million years. Then, I mean, if that's an explosion to you, but what else is there? There's a few that are just like terms that the Big Bang was like a misnomer. Someone was trying to deride it and the concept because they liked the steady state model, and it took. So yeah.
It's funny, those things, because it's like Schrodinger's cat. When you read the story, originally it was meant to disprove one aspect of quantum mechanics, and now the only thing we remember is that it shows how quantum mechanics works. So it's very ironic that
yeah, it's like it became a tool that we use to explain it, even
to explain. Yes, yeah.
The experimentation that was done. That's like was it Louis Pasteur did the what was the experiment where he was with the chicken broth or whatever in biogenesis or whatever is what it was called. He basically disproved spontaneous generation. And people say, oh, when you talk about evolution, well, Louis Pasteur debunked evolution when he debunked spontaneous generation, and that's not what spontaneous generation was. Spontaneous generation is that people back in the olden times, people thought that flies and maggots and even rodents sometimes that they would erupt from dead corpses. That was where they came from, was they just exploded out of dead things, because they would see maggots crawling out of meat or flies or buzzing around meat and say, oh, well, that's where it came from. And then so he did this experiment where it was a pretty simple experiment. One vial full of chicken broth open to the environment, and then another vial that was sealed and checked them for bacteria, and said, and sure enough that the one that was exposed to the open air was full of it, and then the other one really wasn't. So that was the experiment, and it disproved that flies and maggots and bacteria and all this stuff didn't just come into being spontaneously. It didn't have anything to do with what we understand about abiogenesis.
I'm trying to remember what question I asked you before the show, and you said we should.
Oh, it was about the bugs. So yeah, I think it was anyway.
Yeah,
it was. I think you asked how many bugs I had, right?
Yes. Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. So I had a discussion about climate change today that was pretty funny, because so there was this guy claiming that in fact we were at the beginning of a cooling period on Earth because of solar activity, blah blah blah, like the usual explanations. And so they used these last very cold events in everywhere in the world to say, hey, look, it's cooling right now. And so I explained, no, it's why we don't call it global warming anymore, because it's not just warming, it's extreme temperature, positive and negative.
Yeah, just
extreme events like hurricanes and floods and droughts and all that. So it's not just global warming, it's global climate change.
Yeah, there's actually Pale Blue Mama that you see out there in the live chat. That is formerly Mama Atheist, but she's a astrophysicist and climate scientist and a good friend of mine. And she will lose her shit if someone says global warming, because there was a for climate scientists, there was a lot of struggle there after Al Gore made all his predictions about the direction the environment was going to go in light of climate change, which was called global warming back in those days. And it kind of discredited the field unfairly because people said this politician was in implying that this was going to happen and it didn't. So the science is fake. That's not what the scientists were saying at the time. And of course, we there were some efforts made, not nearly enough efforts made, especially in the U.S. But we work with what we got. Yeah, but Pale Blue Mama is the climate scientist that I always defer to when these topics come up. Is she has a pretty good collection of resources available for anybody out there who thinks that the climate is not changing. There are so many peer-reviewed papers published on this. We're seeing real effects right now of climate change. There are places that are being drowned. This crap that happened in Texas last, what must have been about a month ago now, where we had maybe it's been a little bit over a month, the big ice storm that they had, where they just weren't prepared for it because of the way that
power grid is set up.
We've been having this polar vortex coming down like every winter since I want to say it was like 2009. Might have been a little bit later than that. But that freezes the Midwest with a lot colder and wetter climate patterns dipping down further south. And I believe from the study I read, it was linked to the opening of the Northwest Passage, which runs up between Greenland and Canada and goes all the way up through the Pacific. And it was opened up for the first time here in known history. It was open. This was the first time it opened up, just in the 21st century. So it's been. There's so much subtlety. It's hard to even explain to people who want to be in denial about this stuff, that these small changes, as small as a seaway opening up that was previously frozen, are going to have humongous impacts on the way that the oceans circulate, and therefore the temperatures of the oceans, and that has a direct effect on our climate. Those are subtle changes that people think or wanting to think about direct changes. Oh, the ice melting and then the water level rises. It's more than that. It's just, the ice doesn't have to all the way melt. Just a seaway opening up, it's going to change everything. The seaway where the Panama Canal was cut now, before that was opened up, back in, I want to say Miocene, when it was opened up, the ocean temperatures were so much warmer. That's when species like megalodon and these Leviathan whales, there were all kinds of crazy whales, and there was even a marine sloth that lived in these warmer oceans. And then when that closed up, our oceans got colder. And those things are happening now. We're seeing that in real time. What happens when a seaway opens up that wasn't there before? And this seaway is running through this cold Arctic Ocean and coming back down through the Bering Strait. And when that cold water pushes up under Alaska, and it brings that vortex down. Now I'm speaking like a meteorologist. I need a big map behind me here. And it pushes that water in the vortex every freaking winter. And we get those polar vortex swooping down across the U.S. And there you go, Texas. That's what you get for voting to keep your fossil fuels.
Yeah, and to tie up with my area of, I won't say expertise, but of interest, critical thinking is that guy I told you about. He posted as evidence for his claims. He said, "Hey, look, I have a scientific paper," and so I open it up, and so it's not a scientific paper. It's just an article in a website called electroverse.net. So I don't know anything about this
Is that
website.
Electric Universe stuff?
Um, I don't know. I just read well the beginning of the article because it says um, so the title is cold outbreaks are not caused by global warming. Dr. Jay Lehr and Tom Harris, and so the ti- the article starts like this: global cooling and global totalitarian socialism are the catastrophes we should fear most. So, what do heat wave, floods, droughts, rise sea level, forest fires, hurricanes, African wars, mass extinctions, disease outbreaks, and human and animal migrations from South America to the Middle East have in common? According to climate activists, they are all caused by dangerous man made global warming, and this in turn is supposedly caused by rising carbon dioxide levels resulting from our use of, of fossil fuels. So, um, this ties into the idea that you need to check up your sources, and that's very hard to do because how do you know like this article I get to this website, how do I know if this website is honest, is safe, is serious? How do I know that? And it's very hard, it takes a lot of time. So trust is built over time. So you trust sources uh, by selecting them over time, removing the ones that produce
Yeah,
bad information. That's like natural selection,
right?
basically. Yeah,
Exactly. We come full circle there.
yeah. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The idea is that you have someone who uh, if I want to describe it harshly and simply and in a very mean way, I would say he's a conspirationist. He just likes being well having a fringe idea because it makes him feel better, and then he tries to find everything that anything that confirms his preconceived idea. I know it's much more complicated than that, but
Right.
it's hard to fight those things because there
Can
are
I
so
ask you
many.
something?
Yeah, sure.
Was he American?
Oh, yeah, I guess. Yeah.
They always are. Not always, but uh, yeah, I think about 90% of them are American, and then maybe like 8% of them are Australian, and then the rest of them are dispersed around the world. So these conspiracy, it's almost like a cult mindset. When you buy into one, this is one step away. You see a lot of conflict between young Earth creationists and flat earthers that way, because I'd like to see that debate.
Yeah, I would love to go to one of those flat earthers convention, uh,
Oh yeah,
but they're very selective to who they let in. So would be hard. But yeah, I think it would be fascinating to get in there.
yeah.
So
All
we've
right.
been up for an hour already. Do you have time to stay, or do you have
No,
anything
yeah.
to do?
I mean, if you absolutely, if you have more
So
questions or
people who are in the chat, if you have any question to Brian or to me, just type it now, and we'll try to answer it the best we can. In the meantime, what do you think of these strikes that are going on to um, to raise awareness about climate change?
uh, I I'm fully in support of raising awareness about climate change. It's important to be careful how we do it, though, because again, I can pop back to the inconvenient truth, not really being a benefit for the fight against climate change. And I say this as somebody who was at the time that it was coming out, was I was out there with my sign and stuff when they put in new oil refineries in the area and whatnot. But I don't. In retrospect, it was more harmful than helpful. But how we move forward, I think things like, at least in the U.S., like I think we can do better than the Green New Deal, but it's definitely a good start. I think that some of the damage that was done by this previous administration. Again, I'm going to be U.S. centric, so I'm sorry. I just this is that's where my fight is, so to speak. But some of the damage is irreversible. Some of it's going to take decades to repair or to even get back to where we were previously. But some of the pollution stuff, some of the environmental acts that were repealed, it's going to be a struggle to get that stuff back in place. But all of that is contributing to the U.S.'s carbon footprint. It's not going to be long before we're putting out as much as the rest of the globe combined at this rate. We really need to put a plug into that.
Do you think one big event could make us just like the global fight against Islamism after the attacks on Paris? Do you think
Yeah.
something could happen after a big dramatic event, meteorological event on Earth? Do you think that could happen?
Well, yeah, it certainly could. An impact event would hopefully kick us into gear if something like that were to happen. But eventually, inevitably, it's already to a point where the evidence is like right in people's faces. Now you have to really bury your head in the sand to still deny it. And I think a lot of it is built around money. A lot of the so-called science against the notion of climate change is bought and paid for by people with a vested interest in keeping our energy cost high and our dependence upon the fossil fuels going. Obviously, the coal industry was a good example of that, and there was this big push that you can bring coal jobs back, and there's not really a good industry for that anymore. It's not a particularly effective energy source, and it is a highly volatile energy source. Now, I think that at this point in time, we need to focus more on developing our nuclear technology to help build a grid to work towards the greener options. We had a panel just a couple of weeks ago, and one of the questions was, what was your favorite kind of green energy? And mine was the tidal energy, because I like the schematics and stuff for them. What's your favorite renewable energy there, Cindy?
I think nuclear is the best option we have. I don't agree with most of the objections people have to it, but I think it can't be a one type solution thing. We need hydraulics. We need wind turbines. We need everything put together. And you said we need to improve the grid. I would say we need to improve the grid at the planet level, because we can power the entire world with the sun in the Sahara, for example. If we had a well set up grid all over the world, then we could power it with that. So yeah, I think that's the most important thing we should think about is the grid itself, not how we maintain the power. What do you think?
Yeah, and desert biomes are large. There's large swaths of land pretty much on every continent that could be utilized in order to provide solar energy to the rest of the whole continent. Probably, I don't know the numbers on it, but I know that solar energy, at least in its current state, they are actually working on designs like that. I think what did China had the floating, basically a floating city of solar panels that's massive out in the I guess the South China Sea. Things like that are
Mm.
viable. These technologies, we just need to invest in them. The reason that they're not done yet is because the no one's putting their capital towards this. But yeah, I think the best way to go is to move into like in my opinion, like a hybrid nuclear green energy model with a slow transition towards focusing more on utilizing the green energy.
Yeah. So, Pale Blue Mama asked a question, and it ties to something I wanted to ask. Um, I read today that giraffes just went on the list of endangered species. What's your favorite endangered species?
Uh, well, I got a pet project with the Lord Howe Island giant stick insect. They were extinct for almost a century, and then we discovered them alive on this basically a rock sticking out of the ocean. They managed to survive on for a century, and they got them, breeding back. And they're this year it was the reintroduction year, so we're going to see how things go. But they got a good stable population in captivity now, so there's area to work with, and hopefully we can get them to maintain a sustainable population on their homeland. So that's my personal favorite. But I did post the other day something about it was a list of all the species that went extinct in 2020. Why we were on lockdown, we people weren't having it quite as bad as some of these animals out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've lost some megafauna here in the last decade, and it's been really sad. We've lost a species of rhino. We've lost the black rhinos.
The white rhino. Oh yeah, the black rhino. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think it was just the northern population, but they're distinct species. We've and the things like the things that people don't think about too, like there's frogs and insects, especially that people don't think about when it comes to extinction events. But when you look at the list, well, there's megafauna on there. Like I just said, we lost the rhino, for instance, and now giraffes are on the list. But for every rhino or giraffe, there's thousands of insects that are on that list. For even amphibians and birds. Birds got hit really hard over the last 300 years because their genetics allow them to diversify fairly quickly. So their bodies changed to island environments a lot more prevalently than for instance, like mammals do. That's why you see a lot of the islands, especially in the Pacific, became populated with a lot of large flightless bird species, because they radiated to these islands, no longer had the selective pressures to fly, but did have the selective pressures of, free food with no competition to increase in body size. And then they increase in body size cause for an increase in egg size, so a reduced number of eggs for a larger egg. And then when invasive species were brought to these islands, they couldn't compete with the mammals that came from the mainland. So birds got hit really hard, really quick throughout essentially since the colonial era started.
And
I don't remember what the original question was.
What was your favorite endangered species? And I'm going to ask Critical Creeper's question, but before I wanted to ask or to say something about you said there's been an acceleration in disappearance of insect species in the last 300 years, but there's also been an acceleration in the last 40, 50 years
Yeah.
because of industrialization of fields, and we also know that there's a very, very strong um, decay
Correlation.
of the wildlife in the ground.
Right. Yeah. Because that goes back to what I was talking about with what we dump in the ocean, washing on the shore. We affect the groundwater everywhere, and the soil gets contaminated with basically waste that's a byproduct of human occupation of an area. Or even not occupying an adjacent area, for instance. Our pollutants are everywhere, and it's a not really something we can reel back in, but it's something that we can try to reduce. And I think some of the genetic research stuff, like what I was talking about with the fly that we found the gene for the plantain. We're actually using that information. They're doing research right now. While we're talking here, they're doing research right now to figure out how to use that to create insect resistant crops that are genetically modified to be insect resistant, to reduce the number of pesticides that we have to use on our crops that run off into the wild environments and destroy wildlife, destroy plant life. So these are promising innovations. My worry is that we're just not going to get there fast enough to stop it. And there's a lot of pushback against things like GMOs, moving to like I was talking about, nuclear or green energy sources. A lot of pushback to all this innovation that could change the direction of the future. And I'm just hopeful that I'm raised my kids to fight for these causes. That everybody out there with kids is making the efforts to these are causes worth fighting for. These are things that are going to have to be done for the future of our planet, or future generations just aren't going to be able to sustain themselves.
Yeah, one solution that makes me hopeful is the idea of vertical cultures. Did you see that? Those uh, indoor farms where all the cultures are developed upwards. It means
Yes,
we spend something like 80 to 90% less water, no pesticides because all is inside,
self-contained.
and yeah, and they control the nutrients, and so I think that's one very interesting solution to many problems we're facing right now.
Oh, and also to everybody out there, something you can do to help with the insect problem that we're having: plant some wildflowers. Even if you don't like gardening, you don't have to tend them or anything. There's a little sunny patch along a fence or something. Just plant some wildflowers, something that blooms. Give those pollinators something to eat and help sustain their young, and hopefully move on to reproduce. Plant some wildflowers.
What's your favorite avian dinosaur?
My favorite avian dinosaur. Um,
That's critical creepers question.
I am fond of penguins. I know some of their behavioral characteristics might be triggering, but you're going to find that with a lot of birds. Their mating processes can get a little bit vicious. I also like corvids, which is crows and ravens, because they're like super intelligent. I believe are the most intelligent birds, though I think there are some parrots that might be competitors there.
Um, yeah, I don't think we have another question.
Yeah, they're just
Penguins are evil. Yeah, I read again today that we lost the second biggest colony of emperors recently in the Antarctic.
penguins.
Yeah,
Emperor
penguins.
penguins.
Yeah,
Oh, I hadn't seen that. Oh, that's tragic.
yeah.
And that's the megafauna right there too. That's the largest species of penguins that we have currently. You know, there was penguins that were like 6 feet tall. Uh, so pretty massive penguins in the fossil records, and the emperor penguins are the biggest species that are currently that currently exist. And I think they're on the I think all Antarctic penguins are on the endangered species list. I'm not 100% on that. I do know that the Galapagos penguins are on the endangered species list. That's one place that's it's definitely ecologically diverse, but uh, extreme threat because there's so much charismatic fauna there that's completely endemic and it really threatened at this point. But it's unfortunate about the emperor penguins. You see pictures of them, and you get this idea that they're fine because you see these huge colonies. But when you say they lost a colony, that's a colony. That's
Yeah, that's all
tens
of
of
them. Yeah.
thousands of penguins.
What feature of an animal would be useful for humans to have?
Mm.
So I would say wings, because
Yeah,
I would
wings would be
love to be
great.
able to fly.
But we're tetrapods, so we'd have to sacrifice our arms for wings. Prehensile tail would be nice.
Yeah,
Yeah, it'd be like having a third arm. If we could have like dragonfly wings, that'd be amazing. I think having like bird eyes and being able to see all those colors that birds can see, especially like a hummingbird that feeds on nectar. Man, I bet they see some amazing colors. Their rainbow looks way different than ours.
I think I would say being able to breathe underwater for a longer period, and being able to go deeper than we are today, because that's one thing that always puzzles me when I hear theists say that, oh, look, this planet has been made for us. uh, 70% of this planet is hostile to us.
I was
Like
uh,
everything that's above 4 or 5 meters.
I was actually this afternoon. I was listening to. I don't know if you know who Sal Cordova is. He's like one of the
Yes.
creationist scientists.
Mm.
I was listening to one of his videos that he put up, and he was saying that the reason that animals look so much like humans and that we seem like we fit into the clade is because he gave us animals so that the God gave us animals so that we could do like genetic medical testing and stuff without having to do them on humans. That was his reason why. So, well, the stuff that people come up with to deny what is clearly evident in the fossil record. And that's the thing about phylogeny and how it relates and how it corresponds to the fossil record. People will say, "Oh, fossil just shows that something died there." When we look at the fossil record, it's not just the Tyrannosaurus Rex's bones. Yeah, that's part of it, but there are entire biomes saved in the fossil record. Biomes on top of biomes. That's the plants, the animals, the fungus, the bacteria, everything that lives in that environment is preserved in this layer because the thing that preserves the event that generally preserves or buries an organism like a dinosaur, for instance, it buries everything else in that environment too. So there's a lot more that we understand about whether these animals lived, what the environment was like, and why this isn't something that was laid down in a catastrophe is because there's an entire environment there. It's not just the bones of the dinosaur. It's the environment. It's pollen samples. It's bacteria. It's even mineral content, and they lay down layer on layer of these different ecologies. You cannot say that these all happened during one flood event. That's crazy.
Mm. Yeah, Randolph says he likes the axolotl's limb regeneration feature. But then, if we have that, then where would God go? Because he's supposed to heal the amputees. So, if we can cure that ourselves,
Yeah.
where would he go?
Wouldn't that be amazing if we could introduce those genes into people, the amputees, and they could regrow their severed limbs? Maybe
What's your
someday.
position on that? On implanting selected genes into our genome?
It's yeah, that's a tough topic. Uh, if you could help prevent an illness, if we could help fight off disease through genetic modification, then yeah, I don't see how anybody could call himself a humanist and not support the prospect of being able to genetically modify people to get rid of detrimental effects. However, on the other side, you get people just manipulating the genome for other reasons.
I
It
want
gets the water gets muddy, if you know
yeah,
what I mean.
I want a race of blonde, blue-eyed men, strong men,
Yeah,
basically.
The future is gonna be ruled by cat girls, I think, by hybrid cat girls. It's but yeah, axolotl would be one animal. I don't think that we'd have to worry about having like a military application or anything. No one's like, oh no, it's axolotl man. He's going to regenerate his limb.
So, Randolph asked a new question, and I'll try to answer, and please tell me if I'm wrong. He says, does the injection of vaccines qualify as genetic modification? I'm thinking not, because it's just helping the immune system get better at defending us. So vaccines don't change our DNA. They just train our white cells to react to a certain threat. So that doesn't change our DNA.
Right? Yeah, that's not what we expect from a vaccine anyway.
Yeah.
If a vaccine did that, but you'd have to have a specific. I don't even know what group of viruses it has to be able to actually do an insertion. I don't think like the flu virus or the coronavirus, for instance. As far as I know, that they're not altering our DNA either. So the virus nor the vaccine should have that kind of impact.
Okay, so we don't have any more questions. I think I didn't miss any. So, Brian, again, thanks for being here on my channel. I really appreciate you coming here. Where can people find you?
I'm on YouTube. BrainBug's Hive is my URL, but the link's down below. And I use science and with a strong focus on bugs to teach science and debunk pseudoscience. Tomorrow I have a new video coming out where we're going to go ahead and look at creationist Indiana Joe and some claims that he's making about evolution. So that'll be fun. That's come out tomorrow. It would be 2:30 Eastern, I believe. So yeah, if you're free, come check it out. Every Saturday, I usually have something going on. Mostly it's a live stream. This Saturday, I'm doing this video because I'm gonna be putting my flowers in for the spring. So that's a whole day that I look forward to. I have a bit of a green thumb and I love working in my garden. So I've been looking forward to that. But I will be there for the premiere. Other than that, most Saturdays you can find me live streaming. I pop around a lot of these science channels. I hang out over at Math Pigs, Speed of Sound of Gravity. Sunday night, I'm going to be over with Pale Blue Mama. We're going to look at some vax or anti-vax stuff. And that'll be a fun topic. Critical Cripple will be there too. Where else? Obviously, I'm on Twitter. I like to argue with people out there and share science stuff too. I do my bug stuff on YouTube. I do have a Instagram that focuses a lot on on pictures of my creepy crawlies. So if you want to keep up with the inhabitants of the hive, make sure you follow me on Instagram. And yeah, this has been a whirlwind year. My channels, I've been putting out content for about a year, almost to 500. So yeah, if you aren't subscribed, go ahead and hit the subscribe button too.
Thanks. So today I'm going to try something. After the show will end, we'll try to make some kind of after party. So if you want to join us, just say it in the comments, and we'll grant you access to the chat room. And so thanks everyone for being here. It's been a really nice chat with Brian. Thanks everyone, and for being so active in the chat too. And as Brian said, if you like my channel, please like and subscribe, share the videos. I have several videos I think are interesting, like the one where I debunk the Kalam with the astrophysicist, or the discussion with Anthony Magnabosco, which was really great. He's a great guy. So please like and subscribe, and thank you very much. I'll see you later.